Hello and welcome to episode 9 of my knitting podcast. My name is Alex, I'm a PhD student based in the UK and I knit all the time. I mean, it really is just all the time at this point. I can knit at the same time as reading, and because my job is 80% reading, that means quite a lot of knitting. So after an unintentional 3-month break, I'm back with episode 9. I ended up taking a bit of a break from the podcast, not really through any planning, more just circumstance. I don't think there's any real explanation beyond I was busy and this is something I do as a hobby. So while I try and upload once a month, it just wasn't realistic for a while with the holidays, and I was away for a bit and working to deadlines, the whole lot. So yeah, that's basically all there is to it. I filmed a video of everything I knit in 2025 and lost the footage to a corrupted memory card. So sadly that will never see the light of day, and I just don't have the time to film something as major as that again, really. I was able to fit it into a week off that I had over the holidays, but I was not going to be able to find time to refilm all of that. Also, editing is labour intensive. You know, the knitting podcasts don't take a lot of editing in the style that I'm doing them, but there is a lot of uploading and waiting and cutting out every time I say or you know, putting in photos. It's time consuming and this is not my job. So I have one of those and it takes 100% of my working hours. So yeah, that's the reason behind the unintentional hiatus. But I'm back. I have quite a lot of finished objects to show you and I'm looking forward to filming another podcast because it's been a while and I have missed it. So let's get into it. The first finished object I have to show you is what I'm wearing, which is my Saglin by Ailbiona McLaughlin. This pattern has so much variety in it. You pay, I think, £7, somewhere around that, for the pattern, and you get a DK Aran version and sport weight fingering version, so you get different gauges kind of built in, lots of different sleeve options, things like that. But this is the one I made. It's the DK Aran one. I made it with a worsted weight wool. Let me show you how pretty this is. It's this sort of charcoal grey with tweedy speckles in it. This is Lang Yarn's Donegal Tweed, which my parents-in-law very kindly gave me as a holiday present, which was very, very kind of them. And it seems like it's going to wear quite well, but since I only finished this last week, I can't comment on that for sure at this point. But I really like the look of it. I think it is a very nice sort of dark grey that I think suits me quite well, and the tweed kept it interesting to knit as well. If you've watched the podcast before, you'll know that I am ruthlessly bad at finishing stockinette raglans because I just find them really boring. But this one, because the style of the shoulders, so it's called Saglin because it's a mix of saddle shoulder and raglan. You can kind of see that here, but that means that the increases aren't just sort of diagonal like that, they're sort of more shaped like that. So you really do get a little bit more interest while doing the shaping, which definitely helps. I enjoyed knitting this one. I powered through the raglan increases, so brave, and found the sleeves were quite mindless to knit as well. I sort of made up my own decreases for the sleeves. There were 3 different options in the pattern and I just made it up. I just decreased sort of every 24-ish rows and that worked out reasonably well. Now, what I will say about this is that it's come up quite small even though it was on gauge, and I don't think this is a pattern problem. I think this is a yarn problem, and I think more specifically it's a me blocking the yarn lazily problem. My usual blocking is wet block, but instead of wringing out my knit in a towel and then spreading it out on the floor, I tend to put it in a laundry bag and then spin it in the machine. I've never had any problems doing this, and then keeps its shape a little bit closer to how it was when I finished it. But I think this one has just contracted a little bit, so it's slightly smaller. The sleeves are slightly shorter than I had expected. When I tried it on before blocking, they were properly down here, so it's interesting. I do have some yarn left over, so I could go back in and lengthen the sleeves, but I'd quite like the whole thing to have a more relaxed fit. Let me stand up so you can see. I mean, it's fine, but I'd like it to have a little bit more positive ease, so I think I'm going to try reblocking it where I am not lazy and block it properly and let it dry for sort of 3 days, if that helps at all. But I'm very, very pleased with it. I modified the collar very slightly in that I just knit it shorter than is recommended in the pattern. I quite like how it's turned out. I think it looks good with a collared shirt underneath as well. But yeah, that's my Saglin. This is a great pattern. I do really recommend it for very many reasons. So that was a fun knit, and thank you to my parents-in-law for getting me on. My second finished object to show you, and this is by no means in chronological order because I finished this ages before I finished my Saglin. This is more sort of categorical. No, that's not the right word. This is more category based than it is chronological. But this is my finished Marius Damegenser by Sandnesgarn, knitted in Sandnesgarn Pigant in the colours Marzipan Tutti Frutti Tweed and Dazzling Blue. I mean, have a look at this. I'm so proud of this. It involved quite a lot of flat colour work because the pattern actually gives you two options. You can knit bottom up or top down, but regardless of what you choose, you will be knitting the yoke flat, the colour work in the yoke flat. But I really don't mind that. I don't tend to have any problems with tension. It just involves a little bit of mental gymnastics of flipping the chart in your head, but it's really no problem at all. And I'm really pleased with how it's come out. I think it is maybe one of the knits that I'm proudest of, maybe ever, actually. My parents gave me this yarn as an early Christmas present last year. They gave me this yarn in May, and I knitted it up to wear it when I saw them for Christmas. Oh, the cat's awake. Hi, Pand. You're up. Yeah, you are. Did you have a good lie-in? Yeah? Hi. You gonna come say hi? Yeah. Come on, my friend, come say hi. Hello. Oh, you're so beautiful. Oh my goodness, sleepy girl. This is my best friend. She usually sleeps in the morning until, I mean, yeah, it's 11 now. She is bang on time. I love her so much. Be free. Yeah? There we go. So yeah, this is my Marius Damegenser. I knit it almost entirely to pattern, including the length, which is very unusual for me. I usually knit my jumpers a little bit shorter, but I did not taper the sleeves as much by any means. So you can see I've got quite wide sleeves. The pattern has them tapered sort of right up here, and that isn't my favourite look. I like the whole sweater to be oversized if it's going to be oversized. Big squishy collar, very proud of that. I knitted that on a train to Brighton. Where else? I did make a mistake on one of the sleeves. I'm trying to find it now. Yeah, I made a mistake on the sleeves. You can't really see it now because you can only see it sort of texturally at certain angles, but I made a mistake and then just duplicate stitched over it. So felt proud of myself for fixing that. But yeah, it's very cozy, obviously, because it's double-stranded colour work for quite a big chunk of it. Here's the obligatory float shot. Oh yeah. I love it. I'm really proud of it. I would recommend this pattern. What I will say is Sandnesgarn patterns are an absolute ball ache to get hold of. They are barely available in the UK. I understand why they want you to buy yarn with them. That makes total sense to me, but please, please send them to me as a PDF. Also, in my experience with this one, and that might not be true of all of them, but with this one for sure, they tend to be a little bit scant on the detail. So if you're more of the sort of petite knit school of pattern writing, this might be a bit of a shock to the system. where you're sort of having to think about, well, you know, am I increasing left? Am I increasing right? Am I increasing with a pearl? All that kind of thing. So you're going to have to do a little bit more work. But it's not beginner friendly necessarily, but it is friendly. So I enjoyed knitting this one a lot, and I think it makes the perfect holiday jumper because it's not too Christmassy, and I can definitely wear it at other times of the year without feeling like I'm dressed wrong. We're thinking about floats actually. I love the look of these floats with the Marius motif, but I have seen a jumper, wool jumper, for sale at Finisterre, which is one of my favourite clothing brands. Not sponsored, but I wish they would because I love everything they create. They have this stunning jumper. Parts of it are knit Fair Isle on the right side, parts of it are knit Fair Isle on the wrong side, so the floats are exposed, and it is stunning. And I want to either recreate it or have someone buy it for me. It's not very often that I buy ready-to-wear knitwear, but that is something that did make me reconsider. But yeah, Marius Damegenser, absolutely love it. I'll put a picture in so you can see it properly on, but it's very cozy and oversized and lovely. Yeah. My next finished object to show you is maybe the best fitting slipover I've ever made. This is my Novice Slipover by Petite Knit. Who else? I believe I knit the smallest size because I like a little less ease on my slipovers. And I knitted this in yarn that I got for free at a yarn swap, which is BC Garn Samilla Grosso, which I don't like very much. I think it's very plasticky feeling. It's 100% wool superwash, but it feels almost acrylic-y. That said, it is very heavy and drapey, and I love the colour. I really like grey in all shades on me. I think it just looks good. And I've been wearing this one a lot. I think it's a great pattern. I did this as part of a knit along with a friend who's just learning to knit and is knitting also a novice slipover, so we did this together, which was really lovely. And yeah, I mean, I would definitely make another one of these. I indeed have plans to, with some yarn I bought while I was in the US, but I'm just really pleased with it. I think it looks grand. I will say you can tell there's no short row shaping in the neck, but it's for beginners, so, you know, I signed up for this, I know what I'm doing with that, so I've got none to blame but myself. I'm really pleased with how the ribbings turned out on this. I think in future I will try knitting my ribbing inside out, because this is the outside, and then the inside, so much neater. So I'll definitely try that in future, but I really enjoyed this one. It was very mindless, very straightforward. I like how it fits, and I'll definitely be doing this again. Knit it almost entirely to pattern, just a bit shorter than usual. And I do think that the yarn has a surprising amount of depth for a superwash yarn as well. I mean, you can see all the colours in it there. But yeah, really, really pleased with this one. And I think it'll be a great piece for spring, summer, autumn. I'm usually too cold in winter to wear a slipover, but in theory winter as well. So Novice Slipover, Petite Knit. Next finished object, also a slipover. This one, I don't know how I feel about this one. I've put it on several times and I like how it looks on, but it is so scratchy that it is just not very pleasant to wear. Like, even through a t-shirt or another top, it's so scratchy. This is my Pelica Vest by Rosa Pomar. The pattern itself I found to be a little unclear at points, and I think you can tell insofar as some of my pickups look wrong. I would love the pattern to be a bit clearer, but I do think that it's beautiful. Somehow I've managed to end up doing the buttonholes at smaller intervals than the pattern recommends, so it is a little bit short, but I think I'm going to try reblocking it for two reasons. Firstly, to try and figure that out, lengthen it a little bit, and also to see if I can soften it up. The yarn is Wollspinnerei Rona, which I bought while I was on a work trip in Basel at a lovely yarn shop called Der Roter Faden, I think. I'll check that. Which was great. It was a very cool shop, and this is Swiss from sheep to skein, which I love, I took it with me when I went to the US and worked on it while I was there, and it was a great project for that because it only needs one needle size and not very much yarn. I just took 200 grams of yarn in 2 balls and it took up very little space. It did take more concentration than I think is probably ideal, partly because I found the style of pattern to not really click with how I enjoy reading patterns. Buttons came from my partner's button stash. They're these gold buttons that I think look really consistent with the style of the vest. I know it's meant to be based on various traditional garments, and I think these metal buttons go really well with it. And they're quite small and dainty and not too heavy. It's just unfortunate that it's so scratchy that it's barely tolerable next to skin. It's a real shame because I'm really proud of it otherwise, and I think it took quite a lot of learning from me and new techniques and things I hadn't done before. So yeah, I did cast on a few more stitches under the arms because I was between sizes. So I went for the smaller size but cast on I think 8 extra stitches under the arms on each side. And I finished it on a red-eye flight, which was a brutal experience on many grounds on my way back from the US. But yeah, I'm very pleased with how it looks. It's just a shame that it is so frustrating to wear. Like, I've got it on my lap now, and even through thick trousers, like heavy canvas trousers, I can feel how itchy it is. It's such a shame. I know that I can be quite sensitive to the scratch. I can't wear mohair. I find it so itchy. Whenever people say, oh, mohair is so soft, I don't get it. It doesn't match my experience of mohair, which I find to be incredibly itchy. And yeah, I made a jumper out of Let Lopi as well and found that to be also incredibly itchy. And this one in the skein didn't feel like it was going to be that itchy, but unfortunately knitted it up, it just is. Which is such a shame because it's beautiful yarn. I love this. My memory card crapped out, but hopefully most of that was caught on camera. Either way, all there is to say is that I like the finished product to look at, but to wear, it's a little bit challenging just because I'm sure on someone with greater tolerance to scratchy wool, it would be fine. But yeah, for me, it was just a bit too scratchy. So I need to figure out what I'm doing with that one. Let's move on to socks. I finished my Christmas socks. They don't look so pretty because they've been worn and washed. Oh, hello. Several times. But this is them. They're knitted up in West Yorkshire Spinner's signature 4-ply sparkle in the colour Yuletide, which is self-striping. Look how cool that is. A little bit sparkly. And it includes woolly knit sock yarn cone heel and toe so that the self-striping is preserved. That's what a choice I bought that cone. Cost about £5 for so much yarn, and I've been using it for a lot of reinforced heels and toes. This yarn is so fun. I also worked on this while I was at a conference. It's very portable, really nice for sort of, you know, the little breaks between panels, and I love how they've turned out. I think the colours are so fun. The glitter is so fun. It's a little bit different. It's not something I'd usually go for. This yarn was originally a present from my gran and she smashed it. I think it looks so cool. So really happy with those. I also used the West Yorkshire Spinner's signature 4-ply to make a pair of socks for my friend Aoife for her birthday. And I think that the colours will suit her so much. But I've already given them to her, so I'll have to put a picture in. But yeah, I like that yarn a lot. I think it's my favourite sock yarn at the moment. It's very hard wearing, very durable, really fun, very affordable. You get a lot of yarn for your money. So I'm a big fan of that one, and I would strongly recommend that. I've been on a bit of a self-striping kick lately, actually. And I made these socks using yarn I got, again, as a present, which is called Mind the Gap, is the colourway. Can't remember the name of the dyer, but I will put it in. These are self-striping socks based on the colours of the tube map. Now, I don't like being on the tube. It's something I will avoid at all costs. I don't massively like being in London, but I will do it for work if I have to, and try to avoid the tube where I can. But these did make me appreciate that at least the design of the tube is very lovely. So this is what they look like. It's the self-striping. I used West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply for the heel and the toe in the colour Cardamom. Again, they're just vanilla socks. I like knitting vanilla socks. I'm not particularly into textured socks, colourwork socks. Can't be bothered with it. I'd want my socks to be mindless and easy to carry around with me. That's what I want out of them. And that's exactly what these are. I love the self-striping yarn. I think it really adds like an element of fun to knitting them that you don't necessarily get with a vanilla sock otherwise. I'm really happy with these. I haven't worn them yet because the weather warmed up a lot. There's now cooled down again, but these will get their first wear very soon, I'm sure. I think that's all it is for socks. But I so far have realised this year that I've knit a pair of socks every month, which is really fun. I made Aoife's socks, I made my tube socks, and I'm about to finish another pair of socks that I'll talk about in the whip section, but that's been quite fun. I've been on a real sock knitting kick lately, and so much of the time all I've wanted to work on is a sock. So don't know what's happening there, but they're very satisfying and I love them. And also they fit in the pocket of a coat, which is very handy. That's my socks. Next up, sort of winter miscellany. These are my Höstfläktevotter, which I think are very, very beautiful, if I say so myself. This shade of green I think is the perfect shade of green. I love it so much, and I wish this yarn was still in production. This is Rowan Designer DK, which my gran very kindly gave me 4 of from her stash, and I've made a hat for a friend and these. The yarn, when you block it, bleeds like crazy. This is like staining everywhere. This is very much a you have to really scrub your sink afterwards kind of situation. But I think the colour is so worth it. These were, again, a pattern where I felt I couldn't follow the chart massively well. It didn't seem to correspond to what I was knitting. I'm very open to accepting that that's totally a me problem and nothing to do with the pattern. I also had to make them significantly bigger than the pattern suggested. Like this is, they're, you know, I think quite a good fit. This is cabling again. I had to make them, yeah, several repeats bigger than the pattern recommended, and then had to sort of improvise the cast off a little bit, which was a surprise. Be interested to hear if anyone else had the same issue with this pattern, to find out if it is indeed just me, which I'm pretty sure it will just be me. But yeah, my gauge was fine. I just had to make them quite a bit longer than even the biggest size on the pattern. And I don't have big hands. I've got reasonably, I would say, average sized hands. Yeah, these were fun. I don't wear them a lot, and I think that's probably because I find mittens inconvenient, which I should have thought about before making mittens, but I think I was just so drawn to this beautiful cable texture. They also, weirdly, are not that warm. And I suspect that's a yarn issue above anything else, but like the wind just really gets into them in a way I hadn't anticipated. That said, I think they look adorable, and I enjoyed knitting them a lot. I think they're a very fun way of practicing this particular style of cable, and just like a beautifully designed pattern. I had not done an afterthought thumb before. That was very fun, and a really nice way of not having to faff around with putting like 4 stitches on hold or something like that. So that was great. In future I would probably make these with maybe Peer Gynt, maybe Sanders Khan Atlas, something like that. But for now, I like the colour of them a lot, and when it gets colder again, I will definitely be trying to wear them more. I get terrible chilblains every winter. I have one at the moment and it's so annoying. So I should be wearing my mittens more. Next up, beanie number 5 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. I think this is my go-to beanie pattern in a lot of ways. It's very straightforward. The gauge is really nice. It's on 4.5mm needles. It's incredibly mindless knitting. This is real cinema knitting. And then the decreases look pretty at the top. So yeah, I like this pattern a lot. I made one a few years ago now using leftover Sneefnoog and by Camarosa and some Kremka Silky Kid mohair. This is before I knew that I was very sensitive to mohair, so whilst I love the look and the fit of that hat, it feels terrible to wear. So I wanted to make a new one. This one I made in Drops Alaska, which is an Aran weight yarn. I think they kind of have the perfect shade of red, which I think is surprisingly difficult to do. It's showing up quite bright on camera, but it's a bit more muted than that in real life. The trouble is, it doesn't fit. It's really tight. I don't know why. I also find this one quite scratchy and a bit too rustic to wear on my forehead. So realistically, this one's going to be given as a gift at some point. Not sure to who, but that we have to be someone with a smaller head than me. So who knows? It's a shame. I knitted this one on my redacted rewatch of Heated Ravelry. More on that in a bit. So that's that. But yeah, it's too tall but too narrow, so it doesn't fit me massively well. That's entirely my fault, but I suspect when I got to episode 5, my tension was just far too tight. Anyway, so yeah, let that be a lesson. Beautiful yarn. Very pretty. Very affordable. This cost about £4. Lots of thoughts about drops yarn and fast fashion and yarn ethics and things. I think the transparency is not very high. At the same time, I do think that access to affordable crafting supplies is a good thing. So yeah, that's that. It's just a shame that it doesn't fit. But hopefully someone will love owning it and wearing it at some point. So that's nice. Next up, and this one's still damp because I washed it last night and it's not quite dry yet, because the UK has been so damp lately that absolutely nothing is drying. It's brutal. But this is a tie. This is a tie that is a birthday present for my friend, my lovely friend Matt. It's got a square end and it's knitted in this beautiful style that just is very classic, I think, very classic of knitted ties. He asked for a knitted tie. We chose this colour together. It was really quick. The pattern is free. It's by Addy, which is also where I get my needles from, and it's just fun. There's not a huge amount to say about it. It's a tie. It really needs to dry. It's gross, but I hope he'll like it. I'm seeing him at the end of the month and I can give this to him then. This is knitted in Mrs. Moon Pudding, which is a sport weight yarn blend of superfine merino and alpaca, so it's very nice texture. Not that you need a tie to be a nice texture, but it helps. Feels a bit more luxurious. This was fine. It is very daunting when you look at it and it says knit sort of 280 rows, but because they're only like 7 stitches wide, it goes very quickly. It's a very lovely burgundy colour, which seems to be very in at the moment. I feel like lots of my friends are getting married and a lot of people are having burgundy as a contrast colour, things like that. So hopefully he'll get plenty of wear out of it. I'm tempted to make one for myself because I think it's a lot of fun, but I'm going to put it back on the radiator now and see if that helps with it at all. Neckwear. So next up is a Sophie Scarf. We all know her, we all love her. Really straightforward pattern. Absolutely love knitting Sophie scarves. I always do the slightly bigger size, which wraps around twice. Let me put it on for you. This one was knitted in Save the Yarn recycled cashmere, which I bought again in Basel when I was visiting for work, and I love it. It's so much more affordable than, for example, Cardiff cashmere, Pasquale, any of the other cashmeres you could think of, basically. I think it goes very well with this jumper, actually, and these beige trousers. But I love it. I think it's very soft, it's very wearable. I think because it's recycled, it kind of doesn't have the same ethical concerns as a lot of cashmere yarn does. I'm really pleased with it. It's been perfect for the spring and just sort of chucking in my bag. I don't have to tell you the pros and cons of the Sophie Scarf. You all know them already. I'm certainly not going to add anything novel to that discussion, but I'm really pleased with it. I like it a lot. I have loads of yarn left over, probably enough to knit the smaller size, or maybe the September scarflet by my friend Suni at Mothfolk Studios. So yeah, it's nice. It was quick. I like it. It's a Sophie Scarf. There's nothing else to say. yeah. Let's move on to my works in progress. So, first one is a pair of socks. I've finished one of them, still a bit damp, so it's still on the sock blocker, but this is her. She is sort of my own recipe, my classic sock recipe, but using the numbers from the Drops Starlight Stepper sock. But as you can see, I've done reinforced heel with slip stitches, and you know, the rest of it is sort of as I usually knit a sock. There's quite a lot of sort of increasing and decreasing in the leg in that pattern, which I'm not doing. So yeah, I've just used the numbers from that pattern. These are a size 42. They're for my partner as a long overdue birthday present. Started the second sock, but I'm not very far, as you can see. But this one knitted up very quickly. I knitted from here, so the kind of near the end of the leg, and finished it yesterday. So it was very speedy. Hopefully they'll go down well. They do fit. We tried them on yesterday, so that's good. The yarn is Drops Fiesta in the colour Northern Lights. I get this moody sky with these green and yellow bits emerging from it. So yeah, definitely has the look of the Northern Lights. This one is very easy. I mean, I only did 25 rows of leg after the cuff, 25 rows of foot after the gusset decreases, so it's very, very speedy. Don't know how well Drops Fiesta wears yet, but it's certainly very affordable in terms of sock yarn, and they have some very fun colours, so I would also do this one using 4-ply sock yarn held double. That would work fine, I think. I'm going to try that as a birthday present for my mum. 3.5mm needles. I always do my socks on tiny circulars, of 9-inch circulars, and then use DPNs to do the heel and the toe. I find DPNs for the whole thing a little bit annoying. I get ladders and the needles fall out. It's not worth it. So if you're finding that DPNs don't suit you so much, this would be a great way to go for that. I'm going to put this back on the radiator because it's really damp still, but I hope that they go down well. So those are my socks. Final piece of neckwear is my Winter Olympics scarf, which the pattern is the Stash Dive scarf by Summer Lee, and it's free on Ravelry, and it's so much fun. I loved this. I wanted a bit of a stash busty project. I had lots of sort of little bits of yarn that I wanted to use up, and this one includes fingering weight and a DK/worsted/Aran. It's so much fun. Some higher contrast bits, some lower contrast bits. Some of it's come out a bit wide, but that's just because of differences in yarn weight. I'm so thrilled with it. I love this section here. So fun. Love this section. This bit, this is the start. Really pleased with it. Let me put it on so you can see it on. This is a very classic scarf. It's knitted in the round and you use scraps for it, obviously. It was so much fun, kept me very entertained. I knitted it up while I was watching the Winter Olympics, which had me in a chokehold this year. I have always liked the Winter Olympics. I think it's more entertaining than the Summer Olympics, and I always enjoy watching it. And the idea is that now this scarf is finished, and it was, you know, very fun and entertaining to knit while I was watching, that I can wear it to go and maybe watch them in the French Alps next time around. I think it's 2030, so that'll be very fun. This pattern is so much fun. It's quite heavy, but not too heavy to wear as a scarf. I feel very cozy right now, and it helped me use up quite a lot of odds and ends that I'm very glad to see represented in scarf form. So yeah, if you are looking for a scarf pattern, this is the one for sure. You could definitely also just do it in one colour. It's on 6mm needles, so it feels very achievable. I loved it. I really enjoyed knitting this. Bits of it are featuring yarn that were very kindly gifted to me by my friend Jen, and she collected each of them from across the provinces of Canada. So for example, this one here, this contrast colour here, that's with the same yarn that I used for my mittens. I've used it again here, as you can see, and it was just very fun to be watching the Winter Olympics and using some of my Canadian yarn, so thank you, Jen, for making that possible. Obviously I finished this and immediately it was too warm to wear it at all, but soon I'll be able to wear it again. Winter is never far away. That was weirdly threatening, but you know what I mean. Next up is the start of my Crumble Sweater by Suko Knit. This is knitted in Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino, which my partner gave me as a holiday present, which is very, very kind. This is the back panel, which I finished. As you can see, it's got moss stitch, tiny cables, plaited cables, honeycomb. Now, something I love about this pattern is that all of the cabling happens on the same row. All of the cable turns happen on the same row. This makes it so much more enjoyable in my view, because you're not having to concentrate all the time. You can just do the cables for one row, and then you've got 3 more rows where you're just knitting according to the stitches you've already established. So far I've knitted the back panel and I've got one of the fronts, so probably once I finish the socks I'll pick up and do the other front, and then we'll be cooking with gas. I love this one. The pattern is just great. It's so straightforward. There are lots of pictures. It lines up really well. It's not enormously size inclusive, which is something I normally try to knit. My aims for this year was to knit my Dream Cream cable sweater, and I would say we're off to a good start. So yeah, this has been a lot of fun so far. And it's also how I learned to do cables without cable needle, because this honeycomb pattern, if I was using a cable needle all the time, would have been an absolute nightmare. So learned how to do that, which I had it in my head was very difficult. It's actually not. I had it in my head that I would just have sort of 4 loose stitches just hanging off the needle. Turns out that's not the case at all, and I just needed to watch a YouTube video and it was fine. But I'm very excited for this one to be wearable, because I just love it. Look at this texture. So that's that. I'm very excited about this one. I'm using my Addy Clicks needles, which are my go-to. Don't like the cables for these. I mean, look at that situation. Let me see if I can show you. I really can't show you at all, as it turns out, but the cables split. They end up with all sorts of wonky issues, but the needles themselves are great, and I love that you can change them by just clicking them. I find they never come undone, whereas when I've used screw-in needles in the past, they come undone all the time, no matter how tightly you screw them in. I've already spilled chocolate spread on it. You can't really see it. I washed it out immediately, but I was eating some toast with Ovomaltine spread on it, and it got on my jumper, which I don't think bodes well for the finished object, but we'll try my best. We'll try and we'll see. Next up is the Melange Sweater That Will Not End. This is the Melange Sweater Man, which I'm knitting for my brother-in-law, which at this point is embarrassingly late. I promised him this 2, maybe even 2 years ago, and it's still not finished. Reason being, it is boring and I'm terrible. So it has a turtleneck, which is very fun. It took about 4 hours to knit the turtleneck alone, so you can see why it's taking so long. I followed a tip from Marlene of Marlene Knits, which is to knit the last few rounds of the turtleneck at the same size of the body, and that has made it sit so nicely, so thank you Marlene for that tip. The yarn is Drops Flora, so let me show you. These 2 colours held together. This is a wool alpaca blend. It feels very nice. I have heard it pills like a mother, so we'll see how it wears up. But he chose the colours, and we're getting this sort of pink and cream melange effect. The body is actually further along than I had in my head that it was. I think I probably need to knit another 10 or 15 centimetres of body on this one, and then it should be sleeve time. But I had hoped to get it finished for his birthday this year, and that is not going to happen. I feel really bad about it, but at the end of the day, he's getting a hand-knitted jumper, so it probably is, at this size and gauge, it's probably worth 2 or 3 birthday presents. Oh, I don't know. I feel really bad about it. The pattern's great. no complaints about that. Love it. It's petite knit, can't go wrong. So that's the Melange sweater that simply will not let me know peace. My final work in progress is my Osla Cowl by Ella Gordon, which was one of the Shetland Wool Week patterns, I believe, very kindly sent to me with yarn by my wonderful friend Isabel, who I miss very much. Would love to see her again soon. This is my first Fair Isle project, and it is so satisfying to knit. I definitely go in and out of wanting to knit it. It's this long so far, so almost reaches all the way around. I'm not going to knit it to the full length that the pattern recommends, for sure. I think it's going to need a little bit longer, obviously, because it doesn't reach at the moment, but once I've knitted it to maybe 2/3 of the length more, I don't know, maybe even just this segment repeat, graft the ends together, and I think that will be me done. Now, I cut out a whole segment of the pattern. You may notice that the wave part of the pattern is missing in this, and that's because I just didn't like it. I think the pattern is beautiful, but I think it wouldn't have suited me so well. So I just did this instead, and I'm really pleased with how it's turning out. All the colours are ones that Isabel sent me. Obviously I did some experimenting now at this end, and I decided just to keep it because it's part of the story of my first Fair Isle project. It's knit in the round, so the ends are just tied and snipped, which is so handy. And it's mostly Spindrift, Jamieson's and Smith Spindrift, and I love it. It's such a nice texture. Shetland yarn is beautiful. I'm excited to do more Fair Isle knitting actually, but it is time consuming, which it should be. Like it's a slow art form, slow craft, so you know, it probably will not get finished until next autumn at this point, because it is warming up too much to be wearing a double layered cowl really. So it would just be finished and sitting around, and I don't think I'm massively in the mood to knit it at the moment because of that, but I'm so excited to finish it and wear it. It's been teaching me a lot about colour dominance, about choosing colours to go together, about contrast. Like you can see how different the contrast is between my experiment at this end and then what I've settled on. So it's been teaching me a lot about that, and I'm having a lot of fun. It's not massively portable at the moment because it has lots of different bits of yarn hanging around in a bag with it, but when I settle into it, the chart is really straightforward. It's most like the yarn I'm using also has some tiny tweedy bits. Let me see if I can show you, which just is so pretty. I love it. So thank you to Isabel for making this happen. Isabel is an absolutely incredible Fair Isle knitter, so I feel very inspired by her. I am so excited to do more of this. So yeah, thank you Isabel. That's it for my works in progress. I don't have so many on the needles right now, which is very unusual for me. I'm loving that. I would love to have fewer knits on my needles at any given time because it stresses me out. So I'm aiming to have maximum of one concentrating project, so charts, cables, texture, colourwork, whatever, one stockinette project, one sock. So something very portable, something I don't have to concentrate on, and something I do have to concentrate on. And I'm nearly there. So this one, now that it's in hibernation, does mean that I'm at the right number of whips for what makes me happiest and least stressed. So yeah, let's talk about acquisitions. Now, this year I am trying very, very hard to not buy any yarn. This is for several reasons. I say, look, it's a bit caveated as well. It's not zero yarn. Let's talk about it. So, I have too much yarn. Basically, I live in a very small flat. Most of my space in the flat is taken up with yarn, and that won't fly. Especially because we're looking at an international move in the not too distant future, and I don't want to be spending lots of money on transporting yarn. So, what, like, I'm going to be transporting jumpers though, so like, you know, but nonetheless, it's in my head. It's a thought thing. So I'm trying not to acquire too much yarn this year. This means that the acquisition section is very likely to be very, 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 very minimal. Now, the rules that I've set myself are I'm allowed to buy 2 garment quantities, so that's a sweater, a cardigan or a vest. I've already ordered one. I have ordered myself a sweater quantity, which for me is 5 balls of Retrosario Rosa Pomama tees, which I feel like is the yarn of the moment. I feel like everyone is knitting with my tees and everyone is knitting Rosetta patterns with it. And that's exactly what I'm planning on doing. I ordered the lavender one and I am going to knit the Great Lakes pullover. I'm very excited about this. You can't get it in the UK so easily, it sells out like that. And I think it probably does everywhere else, but my friend who lives in Germany very kindly let me order from Wollen Berlin to his place. So I'll be collecting that at some point and I'm very excited about it. I wore a lot of purple jumpers as a teenager, almost exclusively purple jumpers. And as an adult, I think she had the right idea. I would like more purple jumpers in my wardrobe. And I know that lavender purple suits me, especially when it has that depth to it. So I'm very excited about that. But other than that, I have 1 garment quantity left that I'm allowed to buy. And I am allowed to buy sock yarn if I don't have anything that matches it in my stash already, and it's for a gift for someone else. I've plenty of sock yarn in my stash. I'm trying to knit out of that first. For example, I'm knitting for my mum, out of my stash. Knitting for friends, out of my stash. Knitting for myself, obviously, out of my stash. But if I'm looking for a present for someone in a very specific colour and gauge that I don't have, then I'm allowed to buy it. But I must look in my stash first. I think that's it for stash rules. Basically trying to knit through my stash, and I'm finding it very interesting so far to look at my stash in a new light and get a bit more creative with it. I'm excited about all the plans I have for it. There is 1 garment quantity that I will definitely be destashing because I bought it several years ago. I have a garment that I made out of the same yarn and I don't like wearing it because I find the yarn sweaty. So I will be selling that hopefully to someone who doesn't find that, or indeed to someone who's knitting for kids or making a blanket or something like that. So yeah, I will definitely be doing a big sort through and destash at some point, but realistically I will be keeping most of it. Yeah, so those are my rules. I am also allowing myself to buy odds and ends to finish projects. So for example, if I run out of yarn for something, I'm allowed to buy yarn to finish the project, but this has been by no means as stressful as I thought it would be. I think I was using this as my main creative outlet, and I was definitely buying yarn beyond what I could knit. So now I'm getting creative in different ways, in less consumerist ways, and the aim is that the yarn I buy, I will then have the money for it to be traceable, sustainable, etc., local. So those are things that I really want to prioritise going forward. I think that's it for my stash rules. Let's talk about what I have acquired. First up is the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colour Marzipan that my partner gave me. So this was given to me as a Christmas present. I love the texture of this. This feels like it will wear better than regular merino. And I like this colour as well. I was expecting it to be a little warmer, but I actually don't mind that it's quite stark. I don't think it's very natural coloured and I like that about it. So my partner very kindly gave me a sweater quantity of this, which you've already seen in the Crumble Sweater. And I'm excited because I usually can't afford to knit with Knitting for Olive, so this is a real treat and a really kind gift, so I'm very excited about this. My partner also knits and I bought her a full sweater quantity of Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool as well for her to make an Olga jacket with. So we basically did a yarn exchange, which was very fun. My next acquisition is an attempt to solve the itchy hat problem. This is World of Wool Marble DK, which is a merino silk blend. It's in this beautiful sort of periwinkle cornflower blue. It's a standard DK weight. It's 110 meters per 50 grams, and I have 100 grams of it. I bought this before the end of last year, so just slid in before I imposed rules upon myself. I'm going to make the Bayou Beanie by Vitra Design, which I made last year in a different yarn. It looks dead silly on me. So I'm going to make this one a bit longer and hopefully it'll be you know, just a standard 2x2 rib beanie. I'm looking forward to reporting back on this. I love World of Wool so much. I'm not sponsored, obviously, but I use their yarn frequently and I really like it. They're a British wool producer and I just like everything they make. I like their Isle Aran a lot. I love their Fluff DK, which in my view is a very affordable alternative to Saglan Double Sunday and doesn't pill anywhere near as much. So yeah, World of Wool, if you want to sponsor me, I'm not saying no. The next acquisition I have to show you is also from World of Wool, and this is Fibre, which is 100% recycled, sorry for the crinkling, sari silk. I can't see it so well on camera, but it's very beautiful. If you'll focus, please. Simply won't focus. It's nowhere near as bright as it looks on camera, but it's really gorgeous. It has lots of different colours in it, and I'm spinning this together with recycled wool for a slightly colourful tweedy effect with a little bit of silk in it. So yeah, this is 100 grams. I think this will be plenty. It was very inexpensive. What I will say about it is that it bleeds like mad when you wash it. I've finished my first skein, I'll show you in a second. I washed it in the sink and I genuinely had to scrub the sink with a scourer to get the staining off, which was wild. So, you know, I don't think it's a downside, but if it had dried, it would have been really hard to clean off. So bear that in mind if you're using recycled sari silk, is that the dye can bleed quite a lot. Okay, my camera's running out of charge. I have a few more things to show you. Let's see if we can get through it. In terms of plans, I have recently reorganised my Ravelry queue, which my Ravelry is linked in the description always. So if you fancy having a look at what's sort of on the long-term list, you can have a look there. But in terms of things I want to cast on imminently, we've already spoken about the Great Lakes pullover with my Matisse, which hopefully will be started soon. In terms of other Ozetta patterns, I recently swatched for the Air cardigan, which I fell in love with when she teased the pattern. Instead of having like a saddle shoulder over the shoulders, it's got a back panel that's very distinct and saddly. This yarn is Wool Dreamer's Motor held with Holstgarn Titicaca, and I really like how the swatch has turned out. It's very sort of golden brown ochre coloured and a nice texture as well. I don't know when I'll cast this on, but I hope it'll be soon because I think this would be a really fun spring piece, maybe, certainly for autumn. I don't own very many cardigans, so I think this would be really filling a gap in my wardrobe in many ways. But that's a swatch for that. Using this yarn, I'm going to swatch with this maybe today, who knows. This is World of Wool Chubbs Merino, which is enormous. I have so much of this as well because this is for my brother-in-law's wedding present, which is a jumper again. You may recall that I am struggling to finish his DK weight jumper, so I've decided for his wedding present he is getting a super chunky weight jumper. This is on 9mm needles. The pattern is called En Knappen, which I think has an English version, but I'm not sure what it is. This is bright red. Like I said, red is their contrast colour, so that's what I'll be knitting up for him. Oh, Kat's finished her lunch. She always does this after she finishes her lunch. And my Pandora. Yeah. And the final plan is a repair, actually. This is my mum's jumper. This is a really nice jumper, sort of cricket style cable jumper. The brand is Blue Harbour and it feels like it's 100% cotton. Let's double check that. Oh, it's an M&S jumper. Oh, that's fun. 60% cotton, 40% acrylic. It feels very nice for an acrylic blend. But unfortunately, the sleeves have started to come undone, and so you can see here we've got a bit of unravelling happening. Now I think the reason why, and I've fixed one of her jumpers before, is that whilst it's a very high quality machine knit, the finishing is not great. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on camera at all, but the way that it's been finished is literally just to sew over, oh, it's not focusing, just to sew over the ends with just regular thread. So my plan is using this yarn, which is a reasonably close match, I think close enough that nobody will notice, 100% cotton, from Sostrana Grainer, actually, to just pick up the stitches, rip back one row so that it's neat and tidy, and then bind off normally. And hopefully that will last her for a long time. But it's a lovely jumper. She's had it for years and years and years, and I really want to make sure that it's long lasting for her. Pandora? Pandora? Spinning updates is that I have 2 finished skeins to show you. The first is this one. I'll see if I can find a picture of the singles, because although I picked the colours to go together, when I'd spun the singles I thought this is not going to work. But I'm delighted with how it's plied up. I think it just looks so fun. It looks a bit like Sirdar Jewel Spun. This is mostly wool with a little bit of recycled sari silk and I think also bamboo. It's very fun. These are 2 tops from World of Wool, of course. I love how it looks. I think it's got some really pretty moments in the end. This is 100 grams. It feels very silky, very lovely, so I'm very proud of that. And it's spun up at mostly a DK weight, so yeah, it's got some sport bits, some worsted bits, but it's mostly DK. This one as well is more on the sport to DK range. Now this is what I've been spinning with my sari silk and recycled wool. Again, you can't really see the big range of colour in it from on here. You can kind of see it a bit more there. It's really blowing out on camera, but in reality it's this very sort of rich ruby red. And finally, some media recommendations and life updates. Obviously, I've been obsessed with Heated Rivalry. I feel like in many ways the show was made for me. I was already into hockey, I speak Russian, I am queer, and yeah, the whole thing just spoke to me on many different levels. What? She's just opened the kitchen door, so let's see how this transpires. I loved it. I thought it was phenomenally acted, beautifully cinematic. If you haven't watched it because you think that it's all just smut, I strongly recommend giving it a chance, because I really think that the smut is integral to the storytelling and the plot, actually. I think that it's one of the few examples of smut in TV where I think that it's actually very tastefully done and very much part of the plot, in comparison to, for example, Bridgerton, where I feel it's often very gratuitous. So yeah, that's my take on it. I'm very intrigued to hear what you all think of Heated Rivalry. Naturally, I have since read most of the Game Changers books. Hi, yes I have. My personal favourite is Role Model, but I also really enjoyed The Long Game. I think those 2 obviously work very well as a pair. In my free time, I really enjoy reading light books because, like I say, my day job is about 80% reading. I'm a PhD student, and a lot of that reading is very heavy, often very graphic, and on a lot of quite brutal themes because of the subject of my work. So when I'm reading for fun, I really want it to just be very light. I have been recently enjoying Emily Henry a lot. I'm reading Great Big Beautiful Life at the moment, and I think it's a contender for my favourite of hers, which at the moment the top spot is held by Funny Story, which is fantastic. I recently really enjoyed Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which I can't recommend enough. I think it's the best of hers, actually, and a really unusual setting for a love story, so I enjoyed that a lot. And also a story about friendship as much as it is about romantic relationships, so I loved that one. What else have I been reading lately? I think that's probably it for now. I have been watching the PWHL, which is the Professional Women's Hockey League. My favourite team is Montreal Victoire. My favourite players are obviously Marie-Philippe Poulin, Laura Stacey and Abby Rock. That's the dream line. The game last night, I really enjoyed it. I don't know how we lost a 3-up lead, but the Boston Fleet are good, so yeah. I used to watch the KHL while I was studying abroad and have kind of moved into the P-Dub since moving home. But yeah, Victoire is my team, and it's been good for practicing my French as well, which is very rusty. My camera battery is on the way out. The groceries delivery is due to arrive any minute. The cat is looking furious, and it's time for me to have some lunch. So I'll get to editing this. I hope you're all doing really well. I'm sorry that it's been a bit of a gap since I was last here, PhD has been strenuous, I would say. If people are interested in learning more about my PhD, I'm very happy to talk about it a bit more. I'll probably not be staying in academia after I finish my PhD because it's a jungle out there and I love it, but I don't think I love it enough to do it as a job. I love my PhD, I love this lifestyle, but I think that it's only sustainable for a limited amount of time. I have a lot of issues with academia as a field, but my camera's flashing at me, so I'm going to call it a day. I hope you're well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me. Please tell me in the comments what you're working on and what you've been up to in the first 3 months of 2026. See you. Bye.